because I had control of my mind, because I had the ability to focus and to think clearly in a difficult situation, I stayed calm. And so the first one we discussed was focus. The second one, the second reason, so I have this ability to focus my mind. I can put it where I want to. I can hold it on a project without distractions. It's not just that you can consume a greater quantity of material, but the quality of your thinking goes up. Uh, your ability to solve problems uh, can increase dramatically also. I remember I got out of retreat, and I'm not gonna use any details because I don't want some of the information is sensitive. But there was a friend of mine, and he was explaining to me a business problem he was having. His business was being evaluated by an outside business across the industry. You know, his business was being evaluated by the same company that evaluated the entire industry. And the numbers that came out of that evaluation were a critical part of how much revenue they could make. And uh, he was describing the situation to me in detail. And and after listening to it, and it was clear to me that he could take the information that he was being given by this third party. You know, the third party was saying, "Here, we're evaluating you at this level, and this is the reason why." And I told him, "Well, right now you're aiming," and he knew this. He knew that he was aiming his efforts at like maybe 1 million people, right, in a city. But there were really the the company that was evaluating him was getting their data from only a few points, a few people. And I said, look, and he knew this. He knew that like finding those few people was critical. But I told him, look, they've given you enough information. Uh, you can take what they've got, and somebody who's good at statistics, probably PhD level, will be able to reverse engineer this for you, and you'll be able to figure out what that third party doesn't want to tell you, right? You'll be able to figure out how to focus your marketing efforts uh, to the people that are being evaluated. Instead of focusing your efforts for 1 million people, you can focus it. You can find the people that are being focused on. The 1,000 people instead of 1 million. And is it gaming the system? Well, yeah, the system's kind of broken, right? But I could see, oh, well, there's this weakness here. You can figure out what they don't want to tell you. And he did. He took that idea to his credit. He took my initial idea and ran with it. He's built a brilliant career out of it. He now advises people all across the nation on this. It changed his industry. And so I didn't have any experience in marketing, and had only just enough statistics in college to understand what was possible. But I could see, okay, well, hey, here's this. You have a business problem, and here's an opportunity for you. And he took it and he ran with it. Things like that become clearer to you when you can focus. You can see things. When your mind isn't being pushed and pulled by either you're tired and you're sleepy and you're dull, or you're overexcited and your mind's jumping around, like a little kid, right? You know, when your mind can focus on something, coming up with answers to the problems are much easier. It's not just business problems, right? Although I think business leaders, everybody, whatever field you're in, there are challenges, there's opportunities, there's problems to be avoided. And instead of operating at 30% efficiency, you can operate at 90% or 100% efficiency. Uh, and it will make a dramatic difference. But it's not just business problems that you can solve. You can also solve personal problems. The deeper reason I started looking at all this in the first place. You're like, why is life happening in the first place? Why are things happening the way they're happening? And, I knew it wasn't random, or I had a deep feeling it wasn't random. Now I know it's not. And I didn't think that somebody was doing it to me. Well, somehow my actions are making a difference in the world. And then when you learn to meditate, the answers to that become a lot more obvious. It's like, oh, okay, I did this. Now I'm getting that. You can see the patterns in your own life. It's, oh, okay. Frankly, when I do good things happen. When I do bad things happen. And it's that simple. And now it can be complicated to see at times, but that's where meditation comes in. You can see the patterns in your life. You can see things changing for the better. Yeah, I think, okay, I'll go ahead. I'll talk about this. When I got out of retreat, there was, I'm a pilot, was a pilot, I'm retired now. And I had to restart flying. My licenses were out of date. I needed to upgrade them. And I flew for a cargo carrier, an entry-level cargo carrier. And there was some characters in the cargo world. It was an entry-level job in the jet world. And there was one guy in particular that decided he didn't like me. And he was an instructor. He was in charge of evaluating me. In the cargo world, last minute call out, hauling emergency freight, you would, it was mostly auto parts to keep the assembly lines working. If the trucks couldn't get through because of bad weather or for whatever, some kind of hurdle getting across the country lines, because a lot of the parts come from Mexico or Canada, and then they have to cross customs, and there can be delays, and sometimes a plane can get it across faster. And it's important because if they are missing a part for an auto, it can shut down the assembly line for completely. And it's like $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a minute that they're losing. And so like literally a box of bolts can keep the assembly line from moving if there's a break in the logistics. And so they're willing to pay a lot of money, like $100,000, $150,000 to have a plane come pick up parts and bring it to keep the assembly lines from shutting down. So you're on call, right? Like 24 hours a day. And a lot of times the flying's late at night. And you're doing it in bad weather because that's when the trucks can't get through, right? There's a heavy thunderstorms, the trucks can't drive, or there's a snowstorm. And so they want you to go fly into the bad weather to pick it up. So it's a difficult job, tough job. Late at night, usually the trucking companies don't give up trying to get the parts there until they finish their day at like 10 o'clock at night. And that's when they call you, say, hey, come fly the planes. And so, usually the calls would start coming in the evening when the auto companies, trucking companies had given up on the problem at the end of their day. And so you'd come in and fix the problem for them. So I'm checking out as captain. I've not been flying for long. I've got I had flown in 4 years. I'm flying old DC-9s. The planes were older than I am. And I'm checking out as captain. I'd only flown 50 hours. It's like a very short time. It's pretty incredible that they wanted me to captain after 50 hours of flying after not being in an airplane for 4 years. But anyway, I'm getting checked out. I'm actually in the aircraft. I've gone through the simulator portion of it. I'm flying the actual aircraft. I've got an instructor over here. And the instructor who was with me, he was at that company. He was never going to go anywhere else. He was there. And I had flown for a major airline for 19 years and had a lot of experience. It was 3 o'clock in the morning, and we dropped off the freight and was tired, and, I was feeling kind of comfortable because I was able to fly the plane. And so we're going to taxi out. And the universal sign for taxiing, like I'm going to taxi, right? So you have 2 airplanes coming, And then which one's going to get to go first, right? Like you could end up on a taxiway, and if both of you are going the same way, you can end up stuck, right? It's not like a road where there's two lanes, where you can go past each other. You can end up nose to nose, and then you're in big trouble, right? Because there's nowhere to go. It's basically you've both gone down a one-way road, and there's nowhere to go, so you can get stuck. And so to let other people know you're coming, you turn on the nose light. I intended. And then if you're going to let somebody else go past, you turn it off. And so they know, okay, he's stopping. He sees me. He knows that I'm going to go ahead. And so I go to taxi and I turn on the nose light. And this is what happens all over the world, every major airline. And the instructor only had experience at this airline. He didn't have any other jet experience, which was pretty much true for everybody there that was, long-term employees. And so I turn on the text, and he reached over and says, "No, we don't do that. You're going to blind the guys on the ground, like the ramp workers on the ground." And I'm like, "Oh well, that's not the important point, And I told him, I said, "Well, that's not how they do it in the majors, at 3:00 in the morning." And I don't remember whether I clicked it back on or not. But I'm sitting there, well, I'm the captain, I'm going to do this the right way. And oh boy, he lost it. The instructor sitting over here, well, I wasn't sensitive to his ego. I'd been, frankly, an instructor pilot in the Air Force. I'd flown in the majors for 19 years. This guy had only been in the small airline. I had stepped on his ego. And it was, I realized afterwards, I should have just let him be the instructor, gotten through the training. But ever after that, he had it out for me. And so we got through that trip. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm the new guy in the company. I can't go complain about this guy to my boss because this guy's going to stay here. They're not expecting me to stay, honestly. And I'm the new guy anyway. And it's just his word against mine. So we go up. It was really hilarious. I didn't want to get paired with the guy again. But we get called out. And a couple days later, another flight. I see the guy in the grocery store because I went to go grab some food. Well, we got called on the flight and had to run. They'd be here in an hour. So I went and I grabbed some food real quick, and we went off to the airplane. I knew we were going to fly together. And we're sitting in operations. He's all friendly. Oh, la, 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 la. We start so we get in the aircraft. We start taxiing out, and he just starts verbally assaulting me. Blah, 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 blah. I've had it with you. I had to park the aircraft, and let him go at it. And this is where meditation comes in, right? If there'd been witnesses, they would have called the police for what they were witnessing, for what they would have seen. He was that violent. And I'm like, I got to go fly a trip with this guy. So I've got two choices, I can yell back at him, I can turn the plane back around and park it and go tell my boss. And then it's his word against mine, or I can stay calm and get through this and then deal with it later. And I was in a difficult situation because if I hadn't made it through training at this airline, that would have been a permanent mark on my record. And nobody would have, and it would have always been a matter of my word against this guy's word, like I was being abused. But nobody else knows that, right? It's just he didn't get through training for whatever reason. And because I had control of my mind, because I had the ability to focus and to think clearly in a difficult situation, I stayed calm. I didn't get angry back at the guy. We went, flew the flight, got through it, was done. No problem. Didn't say anything to anybody. Went out, had to fly with the guy again. He did the same thing again. Another, he was, it was difficult. Got through it again, knew it was coming the second time, got through it. Got through training, everything was fine. Got signed off. And then went on and built a career, right, without any major hassles. Eventually, once I'd established myself in the company, I went and talked to them about the guy. But that was, after I'd already gone through training. But the only reason I got through training, the only reason I got through that situation without just immediately reacting back, was because of the meditation. I think, as a younger person, I would have overreacted to the situation. I would have made it worse by reacting back. And I mean, it was upsetting. It wasn't pleasant. But I was able to get through the situation and flew the cargo safely and handled it properly because of meditation. And so that's what I mean by problem solving. And everybody has it. I mean, whether it's with your children or your partner, your spouse or work partner, we all have conflicts, right? And there's always going to be this moment where, well, what am I going to do? How am I going to handle this? And when you have control of your mind, you can handle it effectively. You can handle it in a way that's going to improve your life instead of making it worse. And so that's a critical function of gaining control of your focus, gaining control of your mind. It was a critical moment. I don't know how things would have gone had I, it was tempting to just turn the plane around and go back and call up my boss and start yelling, and that would have been just a disaster. But yeah, so there.